If you had asked me before, I would have told you the truth without blinking. Being a side chick paid me better than any honest job I ever did in Lagos. No stress, no long talks, just enjoyment and credit alerts. Back then, we truly believed we were smart. We believed we had cracked the code of this city. Lagos no they reward love. Lagos only rewards sense. Or so we thought. But after everything that happened, I know better now. Some money comes with a price you don't see until it's too late. This is how our story started. My name is Kiki, and these were my girls. Bree, the bold and confident one, and Yetunde, the soft-spoken but sharp one. And me, well, I was the one who knew how to play the games without getting caught. We were side chicks, proper and professional ones, not ashamed and not hiding. We weren't chasing love at all. We were after leverage. Relationships were noisy and draining, with too many rules, too much drama, and high emotional stress with very little return. That kind of life wasn't for us. Rich married men brought the money and the access. We brought the experience. This wasn't love, it was a job, and we were very good at it. No promises, no attachments, no weak hearts, just big money, big life. Bree was the loud and richest one. One of her rich daddies bought her a black Range Rover car. She wore that car like a trophy and made sure everyone knew she didn't pay a single naira for it. Yetunde drove a white Mercedes SUV, half from her savings and half from her side chick business. Me, I bought my silver BMW myself, second-hand, sharp and well-maintained. That was my pride. Night times were our work hours. We moved between lounges, rooftop bars, and private clubs. The kind of places where music was low, drinks were expensive, and rich men came ready to impress. Bree always took the lead. She knew how to hold a table, how to laugh just loud enough, how to let a man feel seen before letting him spend. Yetunde played it smarter, already deciding which men were useful and which ones were just noise. I usually came in last, watching everything unfold, enjoying the attention without rushing it. We mocked love and saw relationships as limitations. One man was never enough for a classy Lagos lady who understood leverage. Not only mumu they enter relationship. I never planned to take Bree's man. That's the part people never believe, but it's the truth. If anything, Bree was always the one with the biggest men, the richest ones, the ones that moved quietly and spent loudly, men that didn't talk too much and paid bills like it was nothing. And one of them was Mr. Martins Ajayi. That man was hers, and everybody knew it. He was always around, expensive outfits, calm confidence, the kind of presence that made waiters straighten up and women lower their voices. When we stepped out together, he was the one who paid the bills without checking prices, the one who sent the car ahead to pick us up, and the one who made sure Bree never lacked anything. He didn't chase attention, it followed him. I noticed him, yes, but noticing is not stealing, not at first. One hot random afternoon at the apartment, Bree was in the bathroom, bathing his loud music playing. Her phone suddenly rang on the center table. She poked her head out and said casually, "Kiki, abeg, help me answer the call. Tell him I'll call back." I picked up without thinking. "Hello, sir. She's in the bathroom. She'll call you back when she's done." There was a pause. "Okay, thank you," Mr. Martin said. That should have been the end. Later that evening, Bree mentioned that Mr. Martins wanted to take all of us out, just for dinner, nothing serious. She said it like it was normal, because for her, it was very normal. That night, we met him at a quiet lounge. Bree went outside to quickly answer a call, and for a moment, it was just me, Yetunde, and him. He looked at me then and asked casually, "You are the one that answered my call earlier today, right?" I nodded. He smiled just slightly. "Nice. You sounded composed." It wasn't flirtation, not yet, but something shifted. I felt it. Mr. Martins didn't push. He didn't try anything stupid, especially not with Bree and Yetunde there. He just kept it clean. When the bill finally came, he sorted it out quickly and also handed us thick bundles of cash for transport, collected our numbers, and said he would link us up with some of his friends. Normal Lagos talk, nothing suspicious. That night, when I got home, my phone rang. Unknown number. I picked up absent-mindedly, then froze when I heard Mr. Martin's voice. I stood up immediately, heart racing, and said, "Sir, please, let's chat on WhatsApp." I didn't want Bree or Yetunde to hear. I didn't even know why yet. I just knew instinctively that this wasn't something to do out loud. We started chatting, light, at first. I told him directly, "I don't think this is appropriate, sir. You are Bree's man." He didn't argue, he didn't deny, he just said, "I know." And still, he sent money, gifts, and other things to me from time to time. He knew we lived together. I told him, but he didn't care. One evening, we were all gisting in the living room when my phone buzzed. It was a video call with his name displayed on the screen. My heart jumped into my throat. I stood up quickly, mumbling something about taking a call, and locked myself in the toilet. I told him firmly that it couldn't continue with this, that we lived together, that he shouldn't be calling me like that. He laughed softly and said, "I can get you your own apartment if you want." I said no defensively, but something had already changed. After that day, Mr. Martin started inviting all of us out more often. Dinners, lounges, private hangouts. Bree thought he was being generous, Yetunde stayed observant, and me, well, I started noticing the pattern. He always found a way to sit close to me, to talk to me, to keep the conversation going just long enough. Then he asked a question one day. "Can I see you alone?" I refused. I told him that we move together and do things together, and that wasn't possible. Until one weekend. I told Bree I was spending the weekend on one of my sugar daddy's places. She didn't question it. We all did that. Yetunde just nodded. But I wasn't going to anyone new. I went to Mr. Martin's place. And that was the weekend everything crossed the line. The weekend was quiet, controlled, and addictive. When I returned, Bree noticed something was off. The way I moved, the way I avoided eye contact, the faint hesitation in my voice. Soon, she started complaining about him to us. "He says he's busy these days. He keeps telling me he's out of town. I barely see him. He doesn't have time for me again. He barely takes us out." Every time she said it, guilt clawed at me. I told myself I hadn't done anything wrong yet, but deep down, I knew the line was gone. Soon, I started visiting him every weekend. I had already become used to it. The thrill, the danger, the guilt, and the pleasure all tangled into one. And yet, every night I returned to the apartment, I felt the weight of what I was doing. Bree's eyes. I didn't know how long I could keep it hidden. I didn't know how long I could ignore the gnawing fear that everything would collapse. But at that point, I didn't care. I was already too deep to go back. I should have known I was playing with fire, but I never imagined how fast it would burn. It started with the car. Mr. Martins had surprised me with a new car, a brand new deep metallic grey SUV. I didn't say I bought it. Bree and Yetunde wouldn't have believed me. I just told them that one of my sugar daddies bought it for me. That weekend, Mr. Martins invited me to spend the day with him. A quiet outing. Lunch, shopping, a little celebration for the new car. I told Bree and Yetunde I was going to one of my man's house. They believed me. They always did. When I got to Mr. Martin's house, I got dressed in the new outfit he had bought for me. Fitted mini gown and perfect heels. We stepped out of his mansion, holding hands, gisting and laughing like new couples. And then we saw her, Bree. She wasn't supposed to be here. But there she was, standing at the gate, arms crossed. Her eyes caught mine instantly. And that's when I realized I hadn't thought far enough. She had come, maybe to pay him a surprise visit since he was avoiding her, and our cover have blown. Mr. Martins tried to step in, hands raised. Bree, Bree didn't wait for any explanation. She grabbed me by my wig, yanking me toward her, and I barely had time to react. My wig got caught and torn slightly. I tried to push her back to explain, to breathe, but her anger was a tidal wave. "Kiki, how could you?" she screamed. Mr. Martins was pleading, trying to pull Bree off me, but she didn't listen. She was deaf, blind, possessed by betrayal. "You think you can take what's mine? Huh? My man, my everything?" I kicked, twisted, swung my arms, trying to protect myself, but she was relentless. All I felt was pain. Suddenly, she let go of me and ran to pick up a big stone. I scrambled and rushed into my car, slamming the door as fast as I could. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely start the engine. I looked back once to Bree's face, red with fury, as she smashed the window of my car with the big stone. I started the engine and drove away as fast as possible. By the time I got home, my dress was torn, my wig crooked, and my makeup smudged from the fight. Inside, Yetunde jumped up the second she saw me. "Kiki, what happened to you? Your hair, your dress!" I ignored her. I didn't have explanations. I just went straight to my room, tossing my bag on the bed. My hands shook as I packed clothes, essentials, and other things. I didn't glance at her. Yetunde came closer. "Kiki, talk to me, please. What's going on?" I zipped the last bag and slipped out quietly. Yetunde stood, her expression frozen between worry and confusion. Outside, I jumped into my other car and drove toward a hotel I knew was quiet and discreet. No explanations, no goodbyes. I just left. I checked into the hotel quietly. Once inside, I collapsed on the bed, letting out the tears I'd been holding for hours. The fight, the shame, it all felt far away and painfully close at the same time. For the first time, I was alone. But alone didn't feel like freedom. It felt like the storm wasn't over. And maybe it had only just begun. The first night in the hotel, I couldn't breathe. I stared at the ceiling, lights from the city spilling through the curtains, streets alive with people who went about their activities. The next day wasn't any better. I walked around the room, half-dressed, ignoring the food I bought the previous day. I barely ate. I barely moved. The fight with Bree replayed in loop in my head. I thought moving out would give me space and time to think, but I felt worse. Then Yetunde's call came in. "Kiki, what you do no make sense at all. You acted so greedy and selfish. How could you do that to Bree, your best friend?" I don't want to talk about this now. Don't lecture me. I'm handling it." "You are not handling anything, Kiki. You don't..." I hung up before she could complete her sentence. I couldn't take it. I couldn't face her or anyone. I switched my phone off, tossing it on the bed. 2 days, maybe 3, passed in a blur of sleepless nights, staring at the ceiling, drinking too much champagne, pacing the room like a caged animal. When I finally turned my phone back on, my chest sank. Bree was everywhere, on Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, and even WhatsApp. Every post, every story was like a dagger in my chest. From the look of it, it thinks she had settled her differences with Mr. Martins, and she was flaunting it. Then one evening, she posted a picture. Bree and Mr. Martins posed like they owned the city in a massive, expensive restaurant. Her caption was sharp: "Mine, always mine, enjoying what's truly ours." I couldn't look at it for too long. I sank on the edge of the bed, running my hands over my face. Could I face the world? Or would every step outside this room feel like walking through fire? I didn't know yet that the fire was already spreading. Somewhere far from us, Bree's selfie with Mr. Martins was doing exactly what she wanted, and also everything she didn't. A friend, impressed by Bree's bold display, shared it in a private chat. Someone else forwarded it, thinking it was just juicy gossip. And then, like that, the gossip flew around until it landed in the wrong hands: Mr. Martin's wife. 3 days after Bree's post went live, Mr. Martin's wife saw it. She didn't shout or anything. She moved quietly. Contacts were made and men were hired. Every place Bree have been to, every person that may possibly have connection with her, were being traced. Bree scrolled on her phone that evening, oblivious to the storm brewing behind her back. Meanwhile, Yetunde had just received a call from one of her wealthiest connections, a popular pastor who always spoiled her with money, attention, and gifts. He invited her to spend the weekend in his private house. He promised privacy, luxury, and that unmistakable thrill of exclusivity. Excited, Yetunde arrived at the pastor's villa that Friday. Everything felt like a dream. The house was massive, walls gleaming with expensive art, floors polished until they reflected the chandeliers. He spoiled her instantly. Expensive gifts, luxurious delicacies, princess treatment. She laughed, sipped expensive wines, and felt the thrill of indulgence wash over her. This was luxury, attention, and power, all at her fingertips. By nightfall, after a long dinner, chatting and mini party, Yetunde fell asleep in the king-size bed, feeling safe and pampered.
By midnight, as Yetunde slept, she felt a splash of cold liquid on her arm. She stared in her sleep. Then another sprinkle hit her face. She sat up, panicking as she looked around. And there he was, the pastor, standing at the foot of her bed, red cloth tied around his waist, white tribal markings smeared across his chest, a brown calabash in his hands. His cold eyes gleamed in the dim light. She screamed in fear, leaping out of bed. The pastor moved closer, hands reaching for her. She stumbled backward, knocking over a chair, but kept her balance, adrenaline sharpening every sense. Spotting a flower vase on the dresser, she snatched it up defensively. As he lunged forward to grab her, she smashed the vase on his head with all her strength. He dropped to the floor, wincing, but he didn't fully stop. Yetunde didn't wait. She bolted from the bedroom into the hallway, nearly tripping over a small table. The pastor scrambled up behind her, shouting, "Come back here! Stop running!" She ran into the living room and hid behind a couch. He followed, heavy footsteps pounding the polished floor. The front door was just ahead, freedom, or at least the hope of it. She rushed toward it, barely managing to unlock it. Behind her, the pastor's voice echoed through the house. "You can't escape from me!" With one desperate move, she flung the door open and sprinted into the dark night, cold air stinging her skin, the chaos of the mansion fading behind her. She didn't look back. No shoes, no phone, no money. Just raw fear and survival. Somehow, some way, she made it back to her house, shaking, hair messy and eyes wide. Bree froze when she saw her. "Yetunde?" Bree's voice was sharp but soft with concern. "What happened?" I barely made it out," Yetunde stammered, collapsing onto the couch. He wanted to use me for ritual or something bad. I don't even know how I got out. I just ran." That night, after catching her breath, Yetunde dug out her other phone. She quickly dialed Kiki. "Kiki, it's me," she whispered, voice tight. "Something crazy happened. I'm fine, but just know I'm safe for now." She quickly explained everything to her. Kiki's voice was worried on the other end. "Stay indoors for now and call me if anything happens," Kiki said, firmly. Yetunde hung up, sinking back onto the couch, still shivering, trying to calm her racing heart. Later that afternoon, a sharp knock on the door made Yetunde freeze instantly. Her heart raced. 4 men were standing outside, tall and serious. Without thinking, she hid inside her toilet, barely breathing. Bree opened the door, smiling lightly, though a flicker of unease crossed her face. "Afternoon," one of the men said, voice steady. "We're looking for a lady named Yetunde." Bree shook her head casually. "Yetunde? She hasn't been back since Friday. No idea where she is." The men exchanged brief, silent glances, unreadable, but their presence made Bree shift slightly. "Is there a problem?" she asked, trying to sound relaxed. No reply came. They nodded politely, thanked her, and left. Bree closed the door, relief barely hiding her nerves. Yetunde peeked out from the corner the moment they left, eyes wide, panic creeping over her face. "Bree, they're after me. I have to go," she whispered, voice shaking. Bree moved closer, hands up, trying to soothe her. "Hey, relax, they are gone. Nothing is going to happen." But Yetunde shook her head in fear. "No, I can't stay. I need to leave. They can come back." Before Bree could argue, Yetunde rushed to her room, packing her essentials into a small bag. Bree watched silently as her friend threw clothes, shoes, and everything she could grab into the bag. That same afternoon, Yetunde left, leaving Bree alone in the apartment. Yetunde checked into a hotel far away from the apartment. Sitting on the edge of the bed, she let out a shaky breath, feeling a flicker of safety for the first time in days. At least here, no one could find her easily. But at midnight, a loud crash jolted Bree awake. The sound of breaking locks and splintering wood echoed through the apartment. Rough, heavy-footed thugs had broken in, moving with dangerous precision. They tore through the apartment, searching for Yetunde, throwing cushions, opening closets, and kicking doors. Bree, alone in the apartment that night, froze when she heard them. The men caught her quickly, grabbing her by the arms, their faces unreadable but threatening. "Where is Yetunde?" One backed at her. I don't know," Bree stammered, trying to keep her voice calm. "I swear, I have no idea where Yetunde is." The men exchanged glances. They didn't believe her. One of them muttered something about her knowing more than she admits. "You are coming with us," another said, gripping her shoulder tightly. Bree's heart raced. She struggled with them, but they were stronger than her. Before she could protest further, they dragged her out of the apartment into the waiting vehicle. The vehicle moved fast through the dark streets. Bree's heart pounded in her chest. She tried to make sense of what was happening, but the men surrounding her gave nothing away. No hints, no words, only rough grips and watchful eyes. When they finally stopped, she was shoved out into a dimly lit warehouse-like building. Inside, the air smelled faintly of oil and dust. The thugs circled her, grilling her with questions. "Where is she?" One backed, jabbing a finger at her face. "I don't know," Bree snapped, trying to keep her voice steady. "I swear, I have no idea where Yetunde is." They didn't believe her entirely, but they had no proof. Before they could push further, the thug leader appeared, tall, huge, and imposing. He stared at her intently as he walked slowly toward her, phone in his hand, studying something on the screen. "What's your name?" he asked, his voice calm but edged with menace. Bree, she stammered, keeping her eyes on his, trying to gauge his intent. A dangerous smile spread across his face. "Bree," he said slowly. "Interesting." He motioned to the men around him. "Take her to the car." Bree's stomach dropped. Outside, another vehicle waited, black and unmarked. They bundled her in without another word, and the car zoomed off. The thug leader wasn't just any criminal. He worked for powerful people, wealthy clients who had no patience for mistakes. He knew about Bree's case before the other boys even found her. That's why instead of leaving her at some random hideout, he had ordered that she be brought straight to the real boss, Mrs. Martins. As they drove through winding back roads, every turn made Bree's stomach drop. The men didn't speak, only glanced at her from time to time, making it clear that resistance wasn't an option. When they finally arrived, Bree saw the gate of an imposing mansion, high walls and a security system that spoke of wealth and control. The thug leader gave a subtle nod and she was taken inside. Mrs. Martins later appeared from the shadows like she owned the air itself. Bree looked around confused as she tried to process what was going on. "Bridget Ifunanya Okoye," Mrs. Martins said smoothly, holding up her phone. "Do you remember this picture?" She showed her the selfie she had posted some weeks ago. Bree froze as she looked at the picture in shock. "I asked you a question," Mrs. Martins said, her tone ice cold. Bree opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. Mrs. Martins leaned in, smirking. "Do you really think you can waltz into a man's life, steal what's not yours, and laugh about it? Sleeping with him, flaunting it, making everyone think you are clever. You are not smart, you are shameless." She leaned closer, eyes piercing. "Do you know how ridiculous you look? Pretending you are untouchable, pretending you are clever. Pathetic." She paused, letting the words sink in. "And you think I wouldn't notice? That I wouldn't do something about it?" Bree tried to speak, but Mrs. Martins slapped her. "No words, no excuses. I don't want to hear anything. Today, you will learn what happens when you mess with the wrong people." She gestured at the men. "Boys, do your job." Immediately, they moved in. Bree was beaten severely. Every strike was deliberate and merciless. Bree screamed, tried to shield herself, but there was no mercy. Fists, kicks, and the harsh slam of boots against her body left her gasping, bruises blooming across her skin. Her wig got torn, her dress ripped, and every attempt to plead or explain was met with a shove or a strike. Mrs. Martins didn't flinch. She stood there, phone in hand, taking pictures and recording everything. "This is how I'll remember you," Mrs. Martins said, recording. "Very shameless. thinking you are special when you are just a piece of trash. The assault went on until Bree's strength finally gave out. Her body sagged, blood and sweat mingling with dirt and torn fabric. Unconscious, she was lifted by the men, carried to the waiting vehicle, and was later dumped beside a busy expressway, leaving her exposed and vulnerable as the traffic roared past. Bree lay there, motionless, the harsh city lights reflecting off the asphalt, a chilling warning of how ruthless the world of the powerful could be when crossed. Kiki sat on the edge of the hotel bed, phone in hand, scrolling through endless TikTok and Instagram page. Then she saw it. A shaky video surfaced on her feed, grainy, poorly lit but horrifyingly clear. A woman lay sprawled on the Lagos Expressway, half on the curb, half on the road. Cars sped past, moving on like nothing had happened. Her chest seized. She leaned closer to the screen and recognized the swollen face. It was Bree. Voices floated in the background of the video, confused, detached, almost casual. Wetin do am? Is she dead? Make person no touch am because of police wahala. Just film am. No one helped her. They just stood there speculating. Some shook their heads, others walked away. Kiki dropped the phone onto the bed. Her hands were trembling so badly. Sweat ran down her back, and for a moment she felt paralyzed, staring blankly at a wall. She had seen Bree as strong and untouchable woman who commanded attention wherever she went, but now nothing. If they could do this to Bree, what about me? The fear was suffocating, crawling under her skin. Every noise outside the hotel felt like footsteps coming for her. She picked up her phone again and saw even more videos, the brutal beating, the sarcastic captions, the way Bree had been left on the expressway like garbage. Kiki began pacing the room back and forth, her thoughts spiraling. If Bree, with all her confidence and influence, could be haunted and broken, what chance did she have? When Yetunde saw the news, the video, and the pictures of Bree beaten and dumped on the expressway, a cold knot formed in her stomach. Her hands shook as she pressed the phone closer to her chest, heart hammering like it wanted to break free. The life she had been living, the parties, the luxury, the freedom, felt fragile, dangerous, and exposed. Panic crept in slowly, crawling under her skin. She replayed every step, every choice, every risky night out, and realized just how close she had come to the same fate. The fear was sharp, real, and it was personal. Her thoughts raced. She picked up her phone and called Kiki. The words came out hurried, trembling. "Kiki, what should I do? I don't feel safe here. What if they come for me next?" She whispered, her voice trembling. But Kiki's response was cold. "Stay indoors. Don't call me. Let's just stay separated for a while," she said. Yetunde's throat tightened. She understood. Kiki was protecting herself, trying to survive, but leaving her alone in the process. By evening, a plan began forming in her mind. The safest place would be somewhere far from the city, away from the chaos, away from everyone who might know her movements. She thought of her mother's village, a quiet and remote. She could disappear there until the storm blew over, at least until she could breathe without fear. Yetunde didn't waste any more time. She started packing her essentials: clothes, minimal jewelry, her laptop, and a few personal items she couldn't leave behind. Everything had to be fast. She booked a flight that evening. Planes were safer, faster, and she didn't want to risk anything. Back in the hotel, Kiki's night stretched into an endless loop of anxiety. Every car horn outside the hotel sounded like footsteps coming for her. Every knock on the door made her jump. Every vibration on her phone made her flinch. She had blocked Mr. Martin's and Yetunde's number, switched her phone off and back on, thinking it would make her invisible. But the posts, the shares, the videos, they spread like wildfire. Bree's humiliation became a warning, and Kiki knew deep down it was only a matter of time before someone came for her. Her chest churned as she realized the truth.
Their life of parties, money, and freedom had a cost, and now the cost had come for them. The day Yetunde was to travel, she got into a bus early, hoping to beat the traffic. But Lagos had other plans. The roads were jam-packed. Sweat prickled her back as she gripped her bag tighter, eyes darting at every car, every pedestrian. The city felt heavier than usual, almost like it was watching her, daring her to make a mistake. When they were close to the airport but still caught in the endless crawl of traffic, she realized something. The airport wasn't far, maybe a 10-minute walk if she hurried. She didn't just want to sit there, trapped. Without thinking twice, she stepped out of the bus and began to walk. The warm sun beat on her face, the pavement rough under her bare feet, but each step made her heart feel a little lighter. Freedom, even temporary, had a small taste of relief. She reached the airport, checked in, and boarded the plane. The hum of the engines and the height of the clouds gave her a strange calm. The world below seemed distant, her problems momentarily muted by the soft clouds outside her window.
When the plane finally touched down, she breathed out a sigh she didn't know she had been holding. She booked an Uber immediately, thinking the rest of the journey would be simple, but the car didn't come. Minutes ticked by, 10, 20, 30, almost an hour. Anxiety crept back in, twisting her stomach. But when the Uber finally arrived, she quickly climbed in without hesitation, too eager to get moving to question anything. The engine purred, the car accelerated, and Yetunde leaned back, letting herself relax. But then, the route started to feel wrong. The car took a turn she didn't recognize, veering down a narrower road. Trees and bushes pressed close on either side. The city lights faded behind her. Her heart skipped, unease bubbling up like a warning she couldn't ignore. "Where are we going?" she asked quietly, more to herself than the driver. He didn't answer. The branches scratched the windows, and the road curved sharply, becoming less familiar, less safe. Yetunde's fingers dug into her bag straps, and the small sense of relief she had felt on the plane began to crumble. Something about the way the car moved, the silence in the vehicle, the shadows outside, it all screamed that she couldn't trust this ride. But she had no choice now. She had to go forward, hope for the best, and keep her wits sharp. The Uber drove through the shadows, bushes brushing the windows, until they finally stopped. Yetunde stepped out of the Uber, still confused, still trying to understand why the road looked wrong. The air was quiet in a way that didn't feel safe. No streetlights, no houses, just bush and darkness stretching out. "Where is this place?" she asked, her voice shaking as she turned back to the driver. He didn't answer. Before she could step back into the car, rough hands grabbed her from behind. Her phone slipped from her fingers and hit the ground. Panic hit her chest all at once. She struggled, kicking, but there were already too many. "Please, please," she tried to scream, but the sound came out muffled. They dragged her a few steps forward before letting go. She stumbled, breathing hard, tears already rolling down her face. That was when she saw a woman. She was standing a little apart from the men. She looked calm, too calm, the kind of calm that meant she was in control. The woman studied Yetunde for a moment before speaking. "So, this is her," she said. Yetunde shook her head, confused, terrified. "Please, I don't know you. You must be mistaken. Please let me go." The woman smiled slightly. "You don't need to know me. You only need to know that running doesn't erase anything." Yetunde's knees felt weak. "I swear, I didn't steal anything. I didn't..." "Nobody said you stole anything. You are just chosen." "Chosen for what?" Yetunde asked. The woman stepped closer now, her voice low, controlled. "My husband, Pastor Evans, the man you call your sugar pastor, he's not just a pastor. He's a big occultist. He doesn't touch his wife. He doesn't touch his children and his family. He renews his church altar with his side chicks. Side chicks, the ones he cares for his special rituals. Every year, someone has to be sacrificed. And you are his loved one. That's why he wanted you. That's how he stays powerful and popular," she said. The words crashed over Yetunde. Her stomach turned, fear clawing at her chest. The woman's eyes glinted, almost admiring. "But I will give you credit. Running away from Lagos? Smart. You tried. You thought you could hide. You didn't succeed, but at least you tried. She turned to the boys around her. Boys, you did well. Before Yetinde could process anything else, they moved in. Hands gripped her, pulling her through the darkness into the bush. She struggled, screamed, but it was useless. And then the bush swallowed her. That was the last she saw of safety, of freedom, and of life. Days later, news trickled in. An unidentified woman's body had been found dumped in the river far from the city. No name, no next of kin. Just another story people scrolled past. I saw the news 3 days later. I wasn't even looking for it. I was scrolling mindlessly, trying to distract myself, when the headline slid past my screen. Unidentified woman found in a river. No name, no details, just a blurred photo and a few dry lines of text. I clicked it without thinking. My heart dropped before my brain caught up. The clothes, the hair, the shape of her face even in death. I knew. I didn't need confirmation. My hand started shaking so badly I had to put the phone down. Yetunde was gone. I sat there for a long time, staring at nothing, and one thought looping in my head. She called me, and I pushed her away. I remembered her voice, shaky, scared, asking what she should do, and me acting tough, acting careful, choosing myself. I told myself I was being smart, that I was protecting myself, but now it felt like cowardice dressed in survival. Sleep stopped coming after that. Every noise outside made me jump. I stopped opening my curtains, stopped answering calls. Even when my phone buzzed, my heart would race like I was about to be exposed. I knew then that Lagos was no longer safe for me, not emotionally, not physically. Bree was alive but broken. Yetunde was gone, and I was next in line. At least, that's how it felt in my head. The guilt sat heavy on my chest. 2 names, 2 faces, 2 lives I couldn't save. Side chick business pays. Oh, it pays well, believe me. But every money, every weekend, every lavish gift comes with a cost. Meddling with married men isn't trendy when the stakes are life itself. When you play their game, you can't hide from the consequences. I started packing my bags. Clothes first, then documents, then the few things that still felt like me. I booked my ticket quietly. Leaving Nigeria wasn't bravery, it was survival. I needed silence, distance, to start fresh, to live with my guilt without it killing me. As the plane lifted off, I didn't feel relief. I felt numb. Bree didn't die that night. Some kind people on the expressway later saw her. At first, they thought she was already gone. But when someone noticed her chest still moving, they rushed her to the nearest hospital. She woke up days later. Her body was swollen, her ribs ached, and when she finally asked for a mirror, the nurses hesitated. Her face had taken the worst of it. Bones fractured, skin torn, one eye barely opening. The girl who once owned rooms with her smile couldn't even recognize herself. Her recovery was slow, painful, quiet. Months passed in hospital rooms and rented apartments near clinics. Surgeries followed, not for beauty, but to rebuild what had been damaged. Plates, stitches, long nights of tears when the painkillers wore off and reality settled in. Money finished fast. By the time Bree could walk confidently again, the life she once lived was gone. No parties, just silence, scars, and a hard truth she could no longer run from. When she finally spoke to me again, months later, there was no anger left in her voice, just exhaustion. There was nothing left to argue about. We both knew. Side chick life had almost killed us. Bree swore never to touch married men again, not because it was right, but to survive. I did the same, oceans away, starting over, carrying guilt that would never leave. And yet Tunde, we both carried grief for her, heavy and raw, like a shadow we couldn't shake. Big money, big life, big price. If you enjoyed this story, like, share, and subscribe for more raw Lagos stories that show the life behind the lifestyle.